So if you're totally new to mortars and squads, the in-game system that you're supposed to use is set an attack marker on the target and then use the range on the mortar sights to fire there. Now I'm going to show you really quick why that doesn't actually work. So in this case I have a marker right here at the edge of this helipad where I marked that enemy fob, and the range on my marker is 600. So I took over on my chart here, 600 is 341 mils. I set my mortar sight to that and I just fire away. If you're doing what I'm doing and you're switching in between a drone or a UAV and the mortar, you can fire about 6 shots, and that'll give you enough time to switch in between. If you fire 9 shots, your first rounds will land just as you're switching. So in between 6 to 9 shots is a good amount if you're switching in between the drone and the UAV. Now you notice, I set my marker on the edge of this helipad over here. The mortars are not really landing anywhere close to that. So that's the very first thing to use, or very first thing to learn, is that these markers are not exactly accurate. When it says 600, really what it's saying is in between 600 and 649. Now normally this would be the part where somebody tells you to go use a mortar calculator. Actually, don't use mortar calculator, although they are pretty cool. Sometimes it's unreliable. It's a third-party application. People can take them down, as they have done from time to time in the past. Sometimes a new map comes out and the mortar calculator doesn't have it yet. Sometimes it's just clunky to switch in between your game and the mortar calculator if you don't have a second monitor. But thankfully, there is a little trick you can use with the in-game markers that can make them much more accurate. And I'm going to take you through that right now. So we saw how our marker at 600 meters wasn't good enough. We were trying to aim at the edge of this helipad here, and our mortars were landing way outside this wall here, so basically we caused no damage to the target. So how could we have fixed that? Well, all we got to do is set 3 markers. So we have our target over here, we set 1 marker in front of it, that one still says 600. Now we set 1 marker behind it, now one says 650. And that switch from 600 to 650 is actually giving us a lot of information. So here the marker is 600, a little bit further it's 650. When we see that jump in increment of 50, that lets us know exactly what the range is. So the spot where it switches from 6 to 650, that's exactly 650. So if we want to go back to the edge of this helipad here, all we have to do is aim a little bit less than 650 to hit the target. So looking at our chart here, we see that 650 is 317. We want to shoot a little bit less, so we'll shoot around 320. And again, we're just going to fire 6-round salvo. We can jump off and switch to our drone. Alright, and now we're banging on target. So, little variation in the actual shot pattern of the mortars. So how we fire them all at the same spot, that they're landing in a little circle around it. But now we're hitting dead on target. We didn't have to use any mortar calculators, we just had to set 3 markers. So we can do that again. Let's aim for this truck here. Now the marker says 650. So again, we're going to set 3 markers. 1 in front of it says 650. 1 behind it still says 650. So before we were looking for a change in increment. Now we saw that there was no change. This lets us know that it's about in the middle. So let's say 675. So to calculate that, I'm just going to use some rounding here. So 650 was about 320. 700 is about 290. And it's going to be halfway in between. So 320 minus 1290 is about 30. Half of 30 is about 15. Yeah, we got to do a little math there, but the target is going to be around 1305. And the range is going to be about 675 meters. So we'll fire 3 more rounds, or 6 more rounds. We'll see how those land. Again, there's a little variation on the mortars, but they're landing on target. If there's any guys around that truck, we'll be in a lot of pain right now. If we wanted to blow it up, we just gotta keep firing. Alright, so let's show you just one more time how to use the in-game markers to maximum effect. In this case, we've got an enemy mortar position over here. The marker is at 650. Set 1 in front of it at 600, 1 behind it, 650. One right on at 650. So because this one was 600 and then it switches over to 650, I know that the target is almost exactly at 650. So just get the range and I'm going to fire. Jump off and switch to our drone. And you can see, bam, bang on target. Now you can see why it was so important to put our two mortar tubes far apart. That was the enemy mortar position. Both our tubes will be down that have no ability to hit us with counter battery fire. Now, the next firing technique I want to show you is area fire. Now, one of the biggest things I see people do wrong with mortars is they get a spot on the map and they shoot thousands of ammo points of mortar rounds at the same spot over and over and over again. Now, of course, if they're just using the markers, maybe that's the wrong spot and they're missing completely. But even if they're using the mortar calculator and hitting that exact spot, sometimes the marker is wrong. Sometimes the enemy just sees 1,000 mortar rounds hitting the same spot and they don't walk over there, right? That's really going to lower your kills if you just shoot all your ammo into one spot. A lot of times you're hitting a whole flag. The route of an enemy advance as they approach your flag. You're going to want to spread out your shots over a big area. So one way to do that is just set two markers here. So for instance, I got one at 600, I got one at 700. So I'm just going to shoot my mortar rounds in between those two marks. So 600 will be 341 mils, 700 will be 1292, according to my chart here. And then I'm going to spread out the shots by about 5 mils in between each shot. So just starting at 600 and just going down to 5 mils. So these big and medium bars each shot. And that's just going to spread out my mortar barrage over a big area here. Just so I can see with the drone, I'll stop after 9. And you can see, even if this enemy hat was not marked perfectly accurately, as long as I knew that there's enemies in those compounds, they'd be getting it right now. They'd be having lots of boom booms landing right in their face. You know, maybe the halves over here, but there's some guys up on this tower or something. There's some people running around. There's some mortar tube set up or something. By spreading out those shots, I'm just maximizing the chance that I hit something. If I fire every shot in the same place, probably things aren't going to go too well for me. So I'll just do the same on the other side. This time I'll start at 700 and I'll take exactly 5 mils each time. Jump off to check. So again, not every shot is perfect, but with the blast radius of the mortars being around 20 meters, anybody in this whole compound is going to be suppressed. They're going to be running for cover. They're going to be being hit with shrapnel, and they could be killed. Now I'm stopping to check in between each shot, but if I was just slamming round after round back and forth across this compound, it'd be a living hell for anyone who was down there.